as well as financial. That is a most important point, for as Dr. Hill discovered, those men and women who attained only financial rewards from life, however great those rewards may have been, were the least happy and satisfied people in the world. To be truly rich, you must be rich in all aspects of life. You will hear Dr. Hill refer to this philosophy as a science of personal achievement, a science of success. However, you may be wondering, can success truly be a science? Can the steps on the road to riches be synthesized, quantified, made to work without fail like a trusted experiment in a laboratory? Yes. In one of the lectures, you will hear science defined as the art of organizing and classifying facts. What you are about to hear are factual, proven principles, carefully organized and explained, that will, if you follow them carefully, will, without fail, lead you to the riches you so earnestly desire. A word now about the context of these outstanding lectures, which have never before been available to the general public. Never before has Dr. Hill been recorded personally presenting his outstanding philosophy in such a remarkable, effective, dramatic manner. Overall, the original tapes are of amazingly high quality. However, you will occasionally hear minor electronic interference and comments from the enthusiastic students that may be difficult to perceive clearly. Where it was appropriate to do so, rather than diminish the impact of the lectures by editing this material out, we have left it in place. What did these Chicago audiences hear? What are you about to hear? Napoleon Hill's 17 Principles of Success.
Yes, we're going to get into the 17 Principles of Success. And I have an amazing guest on the line right now. My guest, I'm so excited to do this show. My guest is the executive director of the Napoleon Hill Foundation. And he's also the author of Everything I Know About Success I Learned from Napoleon Hill. I want to welcome to Whcr again, and I always love having him as a guest, Don Green. Good morning, Don. How are you doing this morning?
I'm great, Nick. Rick, I love your introduction on self-discipline, that bit where you talk about it being a bridge, and all we think about our thoughts is worthless unless we maintain discipline in our life. But I'm ready. We're talking about your right to be rich. It's the history of the whole series. It's just fascinating.
Well, first of all, Don, the narrator, he said that success is a science. Can you explain what Napoleon Hill meant by success being a science?
Yeah, it means it's something you can. It's simply something you can learn and apply. You know, I would relate it similar to a cooking. You got all the ingredients, but you got to put them together. You know, and you leave one of the important ingredients out, you don't get the same product that you started with. No, you spoke of discipline. You can know all the principles, but you don't maintain discipline, you'll end up in some place more than likely where they will discipline you. They will tell you what time you're going to bed, what time you're getting up, what you're going to eat, and when you take a shower. And that's simply a lack of discipline in our lives. No matter how intelligent we are, we have to have discipline and have everything in its proper place.
Well, you know what? So you're saying that can we liken these principles to, or this book like a cookbook, and you follow the ingredients, put the ingredients in. These 17 principles are the ingredients, and if we put these principles together, we're going to have a great meal or a great dish?
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. You probably watch your mother cook. Once she got it all down, she could just throw it all together because it became a habit. It was so simple. But if it's a young girl or a young person starting out cooking, they measure everything just precise and measure it in flow manner and put it together. But the more they do it, the easier it comes. You know, like you and I, we don't have trouble getting up in the morning and going after our goals because we've done it. It's a habit. You know, we say in the business, we make our habits and then they make us. It doesn't matter whether they're good habits or bad habits. If you got a bad habits of drugs or cigarettes or sleeping over and laying out of work and all, it becomes real easy to do because you keep repeating it. And that's how we learn, repeating. Mm-hmm. Remember when we learned our ABCs in school? ABC, we over and over and over repeat the same thing. If we repeat them wrong, you know, perfect practice makes perfection. But if the practice is not right, it's the same thing. You won't get a perfect product, and That's the way we learn. We learn by stories and by repetition, just like our multiplication table. If I walked up this morning, Rick, and said, "What's 8 times 8?" You know it's 64. It's in your subconscious. You said it so many times, nobody might have asked that question to you since you was in the 5th grade. But it's up there once you get it up there, and it's easy to maintain if you repeat it enough so it becomes a part of your subconscious.
Hey, Don, what would happen to a person if they went to the store and bought this book and started reading this book, read this book from cover to cover, 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, maybe 4, maybe 5, maybe 6, maybe 7 times, and then let this book become a part of their who they are, and they study this book and they master this book and they apply these principles in this book? What would happen to that person?
They'd be a completely new person. And not only that, like Will says, it's not just about making money. It's being a positive influence in other people's lives. We learn from each other, both good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
We say that we're the average of the 10 people we spend the most time with. As one of my good friends, Zig Ziglar, used to say, if you want to be a winner, hang around winners. If you want to be a loser, guess what? Just hang around losers. And so it's important. It's not that difficult. We say the main part of the whole philosophy is a beginning, where he says deafness of purpose is a starting point of all achievement. You got to basically know where you're going. I mean, you and I travel. You're coming down to see me. You're not going to go north. You know where I'm located in the South in Virginia. You got to know where you're going, and you might not know all the plans when you start, but that don't mean you don't start.
I'll get some directions.
May not have all the funds available, but he'll get his plans as he goes. If it's his definite purpose, he'll make it. There'll be a way made for him if he's determined enough, even though he don't have all the answers. The good book tells us if we're going to build it, we must first sit down and make it the plan. We want something or other, and then we take the steps how we're going to get there, and whether it be a college education or our income or whatever. We can't just sit down and think about it. That's real nice, but the action is the part of planning and taking action and persistence, and doing it over and over. Bill used to say in his lectures, how many times does the average person try something before they quit? And the audience would holler 1, 2, 3, and different numbers. He said, no, I said the average. He said the average is less than 1, because a lot of people have ideas and they never even start. So when you add them in there, not many people stick with something other 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, wherever what that's the reason he kept telling Edison about the light bulb. He knew exactly what he wanted. And 10,000 attempts before he got the light bulb changed the world.
Wow, that's powerful. And like you said, if someone is traveling, if I'm going to visit you, I'm going to get directions of how to get there, and I'm going to follow those directions to the T. I'm not going to go not follow the directions if I want to get to where you are.
No, and Jim Stovall, our good friend, that wrote the Millionaire's Map, in that book he said, never ask a map from someone who hasn't been where you want to go.
Ooh.
In other words, if you're getting directions, if you want to talk to someone about finances, you don't want to talk to a relative who just come out of bankruptcy court. You want to talk to someone who's been successful. In the same way, if I was going to learn to play golf, I wouldn't give my brother-in-law. I can beat the socks off of him. I want somebody who's got better skills than I got.
Right.
If I'm wanting to learn, we want to learn from people who know more than we do, and keep improving ourselves. So it's important what we read and what we who we learn from.
Yes, Don. Let me identify ourselves.
WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Rick Young. This is another segment of What's in Your Hand, and my guest is Don Green, the Executive Director of the Napoleon Hill Foundation, and I'm excited to see all the people listening from around the world. I'm very excited. Thank you guys for listening to this show. I can see you here on the screen here, and Don, we got people listening to this program from all different parts of the world, Don.
Well, that's great. I had a call yesterday from a gentleman in Iran, but we know our influences of Dr. Hill's all over the world. We have more than 200 foreign publishers, and I said of all places, from Saudi Arabia to Iran to Russia to Mexico to China to Estonia to Ukraine, you name it.
Wow,
he's
man.
He's very, very popular.
Wait a minute.
Unbelievable how
Wait a
popular
minute,
he
Don.
is.
Wait a minute, Don. Hold on a
China
second.
and Japan and the foreign countries. It's just absolutely amazing.
Hey, Don. Wait a minute. You telling me that someone that was born in a one-room cabin in Wise, Virginia, has created a program that has impacted people from all over the world?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing of it is, Rick, I often get the questions. I'm sure you get questions that sometimes you wonder where they think about them. I have people tell me, well, when did Hill write that book? I said, well, the Think and Grow Rich, 1937. That must be outdated. I said, what do you mean outdated? I said, the principle of success never changed.
Success
Let
never
me give
changed.
you an example.
Wow.
Imagine yourself on a 10th story of a building,
Right.
and you step off the ledge.
Right.
What's going to happen? You're going to hit the ground. You're going to get hurt or you're going to kill. That's called the law of gravity.
Right.
It doesn't change. It
Right.
doesn't matter if you do it yesterday, you do it next week. Same results. Same thing, the principle of success. People have been applying them forever, some of them subconsciously without knowing it. Some of the great people of the past stumble on them by accident, but here you can study them. And we study the people that are successful, and it's a shortcut. In other words, if Rick tells Don Green, now, Don, don't put your hand on that stove. I tried it, and it'll burn you. You're a pretty good source. I'll take your word for it. Some things we don't have to try. We learn through people's success. We can also learn from people's failures. And, just don't do the things that you've seen people do that got bad results. You can learn from, Hill said he learned more from people who failed than he did from ones that succeeded because there's a lot more of them. So you try to avoid the failures and copy the successes because we don't live long enough to make all the mistakes. They say we learn from our mistakes, but we can't make all of them. We make all of them, we'll end up in bad positions.
Hey, Don. Wow. Now, this 1954, Napoleon Hill did a workshop, and it's called "Your Right to Be Rich." Very, very powerful workshop. What made you decide to turn it into a book?
Well, Rick, that was in 1954. He was associated with Stone, and there's millions. I'm telling you, literally millions of people have listened to those audios, and they're handy. While I was working outside for a finance company back in the early '60s, I used to listen to them. I used to listen to them things over and over and over and over, and that people listen to them. But also, a lot of people don't spend that kind of time traveling or what have you. And I thought, well, why not put it in a book? And they got their choices. If they want to listen to the tape, and then there's advantage of having it in print because you can put the thing out there in front of you, and you can underline notes, and you can stop her where you want to, and you can't do it in a car. You can make a notes, and the side says, now what about this, and where can I use this, and so forth. Because that's what we do when we're reading your book. The difference in reading the material in different types of book is, if we read novels, and I read a lot of different material just to see the writers and what have you. I'm reading a girl in the Spiderweb, the present. It's a good writer and a very popular book. But in those books, we read them, and it's a big book, and we have to read it to get the ending of it, to know what happened. And the ending is ever what the writer says. Where the girl was convicted, or where she got the guy, or they inherited $1 million or whatever what. But in a book of self-help books, each of us writes our own ending by taking these principles and apply them. If we do something with them, the story at the end is our own story. We made our own story. We didn't have to read some other authors to see what happened in the love story or whatever. We actually created our own. We created our own story, and we create our own endings by the things that we think about, the plans that we do, the discipline we have, and the action we carry out, and the persistence we apply in our lives. We make our own story.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. That's pretty powerful. And what I think about this program, this is my perspective. Think and Grow Rich is a powerful book. It has changed millions of lives. Many people have read this book. But I think the difference about this It's a
Yeah.
workshop, Don.
Absolutely,
And
the number of people that's read it is amazing. I
Yeah.
mean, just like
yeah,
somebody sent me an email the other day, said, watch the website, and it was about the Reverend Charles Stanley. I believe he's a Baptist minister from Atlanta, somewhere. I've been on television forever and ever and ever, and he was talking in that clip on TV about reading, Think and Grow Rich, and the people it's influenced is unbelievable. Jim Stovall told me one time on the phone, you remember years ago, he was talking to Billy Graham, and he said, Dr. Graham, we know you study the Bible a lot. Said, what do you read besides the Bible? And he said, well, today I've been reading Going the Extra Mile out of Think and Grow Rich. He said, that's such a powerful chapter of going the extra mile. And that's what separates people. I was working on a lecture for a class at the University of Virginia. They asked me to teach next week, and I was going to cover that point of importance of going the extra mile. If you've read all the stories of Hill, he one of them he talks about, and people don't understand that. Rick, my dad was a union employee in coal mines, but I think a lot of times they've got protection from their job, but they feel like 8 hours of what they do is it. Do a little bit extra is just not in part of their contract or in their obligation. They feel like they're not getting paid for that. But he'll give some examples, and one of them I love. This elderly lady on a rainy day goes into a department store, and everybody ignores her. She's old and probably not well kept and whatever. And so, but this young boy walks up to her and says, "Ma'am, could I help you?" She said, "Son, I just come in here to get out of the rain." And he said, "Well, could I get you a chair?" She got him a chair, and she sat down, and then she waited a while, and when she got up to leave, she asked him for his card. And some months later, the store gets a letter and says from this gentleman and says he owns a castle in Scotland and mentioned this young man by his name would like him to travel over there. They'll buy all their furnishings off from this store, but they want him to go over and see that everything's put in order. And they told him, no, he's too young. He doesn't have the experience. The man says he was treating my mother very kindly and said either he goes or we take our business elsewhere. Well, the letter was signed by Andrew Carnegie. It was a small act that he did that he wasn't being paid to do, but it paid great dividends. And so many people in life don't understand that. I've told you this story about it. It's in my book that I voluntarily sent a man a couple books to Nigeria, and we know about Nigeria. But that man wired me $100,000, and then since then he gave me another $150, and he's given me other money on top of that. All I did was talk to the man and listen to his story. And he talked about Mr. Stone, and I sent him a couple of Mr. W. Clement Stone's books. That's all I did. One simple act of kindness. I did not know it would go anywhere, but we absolutely never know. I used to work in a bank. I was a bank president for almost 20 years. He tells another story one time in Detroit when we make a place of making cars. And one day the bank was closed, and this man's knocking on the door. This young boy saw him, and he recognized him, and he goes, unlocks the door, and he says, "Can I help you?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm going out of town. I need to cash a check." And the young boy told him, said, "Well, sir, the bank's closed, but the vault's not closed. I can cash your check." He cashed the check for him, and then the man gave him his card, said, "Come by my office." Said, "You'll never make a lot of money as a bank teller." Said, "I have a job for you." So he shows up, and he gives him a job, and first day, 5 o'clock, he'll say the gong goes off. It's meaning they rung a bell. Everybody takes off because it's 5 o'clock. It's quit time. This young boy, Carol Downs, he goes by the gentleman's office and says, "Is there anything I could do for you before you leave?" And he said, "Son, didn't you hear that thing go off?" I said, "That's quit time." He said, "I know that, but," said, "everybody seems such a hurry. I thought I would ask if you could use anything before I left." He said, "Well, matter of fact, I'm drawing plans." He said, "If you'll go down the end of the hall, you'll see the supplies thing." He said, "Sharpen me a good pencil and bring it to me." So he went and got the pencil, except he sharpened too. And so he continued that over a period of time, going by for 6 months. Finally, the guy told him, said, "You've outused yourself. I can't use you doing this no more." And he said, "Why?" He said, "I got another job for you." He gives him his own office. And to make a long story short, this guy, Carol Downs, he used to get out and make speeches. and he said at Sharpen and Pencils paid him somewhere between $10 and $12 million because he was given stock options. The man was Will Durant. He happened to be the gentleman that founded General Motors. So we never know what little bit of extra, and he'll call it going the extra mile, doing a little bit of extra. It won't, I assure you, it won't hurt you. And oftentimes it'll pay great rewards, and we never know.
That's right. That's pretty awesome. That's a pretty awesome story. You know, the thing I like about this book is that it was transcribed from a speech from 1954 that Napoleon Hill did in Chicago. And this book has all the emotions of him speaking to an audience. You're gonna get more emotion when you're speaking to people, and I think that's what came through in this book.
And you know, right, Rick. And he was so good at it. I've got all his material. He kept everything. I got one of his ledgers. One year he spoke in 83 different cities. I'm talking about Los Angeles and Houston and Dallas and Phoenix, Arizona, and Tampa, Florida, Chicago, Illinois, Baltimore, Maryland, all over. He kept a ledger, and lots of the places he may have spoke 3 or 4 days in a row. For example, you know the story of R.U. Darby, no doubt. It's in Three Feet from Gold. It's the first part of Think and Grow Rich. That story was told to him, and I'd had people question me, was it really R.U. Darby? He said, did somebody really exist by R.U. Darby? Yeah, he is. Or was at the time. I had a newspaper article, half a page, in February 1933. R.U. Darby run a ad in a Baltimore paper, half a page ad. It was R.U. Darby and Associates. They were an insurance company, and they sponsored Napoleon Hill's lectures for a week, and that was part of what he was doing. And of course, that was at the time that Hill told the story that Darby went out west and discovered gold, and it quit on him, and he just gave up. And then somebody later picked up on where the gold was at. But Darby said he learned from him that when he was selling insurance, and that's what he'd come back to Maryland and did was sell insurance. He said he learned never to take no for an answer when he's presenting his sales pitch to a prospective buyer. So he learned from his mistake. But he actually told that, or Darby actually told that story, and of course he also told the story about the little girl wanting 50 cents for her mammy. So we know R.U. Darby was not a made-up story because we've got a half-a-page ad where he sponsored Napoleon Hill doing these very same lectures. He got lots and lots and lots of experience traveling all over giving these lectures. And of course, by 1954, he would have been 71 years old. So he evidently he got down pretty good by that time, and I think this is probably some of the best of his best.
Absolutely. Don, let me identify ourselves again.
WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Rick Young, another segment of What's in Your Hand here at WHCR, and I am honored to have the executive director of the Napoleon Hill Foundation, Don Green. Don, I think you have one of the best jobs in the world. You said you were a bank president. How did you become the executive director of the Napoleon Hill Foundation?
Rick, that question has been asked many times, and I'll be glad to repeat it. You know, sometimes in life, our ship don't come in. It's simply, I wasn't born a Bush or a Kennedy or whatever. My dad was an underground coal miner. Sometimes the ship doesn't come in. But there's not anything that says we can't swim out to where the ship is. Understand? If the opportunity, if Rick don't knock on my door, I'll send Rick a book with a little note or something or another. I'll initiate the thing if things are not going. Sign on my desk says it's up to be. If it is to be, it's up to me. That means that I'm responsible for myself. But when I was in banking, I'd done read all these books. I started out in the finance business. They called us assistant manager, but we worked for $1.10 an hour, furnishing our own car, and was actually doing collection work. And I learned to be on them people's side. I would say, Rick, you're 2 payments behind. The bank's raising Cain. But I'm with you. I want to help you. I said, what can we do? And we work out a solution because to get things straightened out. I never used hard sell tactics or nothing and tried to scare people. I knew they had a problem because most people are basically honest. I said, can you get me a part of a payment? I come back by here this evening. You think you can borrow somebody? I said, I don't want to take your car. our business. And I'd have to turn around and sell it in finance for somebody else, and they may get in trouble. So I want to work with you to keep your car. And so I learned some things by listening to them tapes. But when I was in the banking business, I was a bank president. I was given, people would ask me about Napoleon Hill, and I would speak. And one particular night, I remember speaking to at the Pounds, Virginia, where he was born at a historical society in a Methodist church. And I remember there was about 20 people. Two things I remember. One is they didn't pay me, and the second thing, they didn't even feed me. So, but I mean, I was glad to go and talk about it. But when I was coming back, I was listening to Mr. Stone, and I thought, I'll have to write him a letter. So I penned out a letter when I got home at night. I drove, it was about 10 miles from where I live, and I wrote it out. And the next morning, I took my secretary to the bank. I said, type this letter out and send it out. Well, lo and behold, I got a letter back inviting me to come to Chicago and have dinner with Mr. Stone. And when I met with him, we talked about the books and all. And he said, told me to call me boy. He said, boy, you know more about these books than I do. He said, you ought to be a board member. I said, what do I have to do, Mr. Stone? He said, just come to our meetings. And, of course, I attended our meetings, and as I got approaching age 60, the old guys that founded the bank wanted to sell it. And as the year 2000, which was, timing was absolutely wonderful. If you know what about the banking is today, we sold out the peak period of time, and everybody was happy. I know I was happy. And I know all the stockholders are very happy because they've seen their money multiply many times over. And so the foundation had Mike Ritt, who was getting up years and couldn't travel. And they said, we got to get somebody to run the foundation. I did not figure on myself for it because I had spring water, dry cleaners, had land development, had a whole lots of other interests, had plenty to keep me busy. And the board said, Don, we've looked around. There's nobody knows this material like you do. And I said, guys, I just don't want to live in this time of my life in Chicago. I had a young girl and a daughter in school, and I said, I just don't want to do no more uprooting. But I said, I can move it to Virginia. They said, can you do that? I said, absolutely, I can. All I got to do is transfer the bank accounts. I've done got the books. And so it's been absolutely wonderful. We've endowed 16 scholarships. We pay half the tuition of 16 kids to go to the University of Virginia every year. And we got a professorship in Hill's name we've endowed. And we do lots and lots of prison work, which we don't get no reward, except the fact is that we know we help lots of people. I could name you names of an NBA star who read our material while in prison, who's now out doing good work. It affected so many people, and we'll keep doing. Plus, we've shared this with people, like I told you, in Iran and Saudi Arabia, and in all the developed and undeveloped countries in the world, and so we know we're making a difference by the responses we get.
Hey Don, speaking of making a difference, I want to stop for a minute and I want to pay tribute to your wife. I know your wife made a transition recently. Can you speak about your wife? Tell me, say her name, and just kind of, because I know she was a wonderful woman. I mean, she was married to you, so I know she was a wonderful woman. Can you talk about her for a minute, Don?
Yeah, I can, Rick. Her name was Phyllis. We was sweethearts, and we was married 54 years. Got one daughter who's a CPA, and got a wonderful marriage of 25 years. Got a grandson who just graduated college and working in the finance industry in Charlotte, North Carolina. And it was a wonderful marriage, and my wife was the most caring person I've ever been around. People say I am, but she was, and she was not in the limelight like I am. She didn't want nobody to know it. I mean, she did things for people. Days before she died, she was telling me, take this girl, go get that girl that waits on you at the drugstore, gets my medicine. You give her some money. I said, give her some money? Yeah, I'll give her some money. Said, I'll keep up with her through text. Said that she texted. She said she's working at the local store on the weekends. Said she'd been divorced and said trying to get your bills up. And said, give her some money. This is a matter of days before she died. She's always thinking of other people, and she never cared anything about anybody knowing it. She told me days before she died, she said, now, all them people I've been writing checks to every month, that I want you to continue. And, of course, I said to her, how much do I give them? Just look and see how much I've been giving them. And, I mean, the list is a mile long from St. Jude's to the missions. She supported a couple of kids down in Belize. And every charity from March of Dimes to Wounded Warrior to you down through there. She sent them, some of them a little check and some of them a bigger check every month. And no fanfare, no glory. She just sat down with the checkbook and wrote them out every month. And she's forevermore doing that. I mean, we traveled one time, and she said, "Where's in Tennessee?" She said, "Didn't you see them kids?" I said, "You mean they're back over the road?" "Yeah." She said, "They're having a yard sale for Little League." And I said, "What you want me to do?" She said, "Go back." So I was on the 4-lane divided highway. It's a Dolly Parton highway. I drove a mile or so before I could turn around and went back. I get out. I go look at this stuff, and I get back to the car. I said, "Phil, honey, they didn't have nothing I'd have. I thought they might have some books or something." I said, "They didn't have nothing I'd have." "Well, go back and give them $100. So we go back, and I give them $100. Never seen them before. Don't know not one kid. Never see them again. But I said, "Who's the coach?" And they said, "That guy right over there." So I went over. I said, "My wife wants you guys to have $100. I handed him $100, but that was her. Nobody ever noticed but me and her. And she did that her whole life. And my daughter's got the same attributes. It just sometimes what she does amazes me. At how caring that she can be. The other day she called me and I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "I'm taking this lady to get her cancer treatment." I said, "I thought you had 3 jobs lined up and was real busy." She said, "I am." But said there wasn't no. This lady goes to our church, and said there wasn't nobody to take her, and said I volunteered.
Wow. They say the fruit don't fall too far from the tree. I'm glad to see your daughter's doing good, picking up from where your wife left off. That is amazing, Don. I really appreciate, that, first of all, appreciate you sharing that with us. And she was a wonderful lady. And
she was an encourager. I said, "Here's my goals," and all. And I think she believed me even back then. But she just really was. She never asked nothing for herself, and I think she hunted for people she could help, but she always did it in a quiet way. That you just didn't want nobody to know it. I mean, that was just her, and I'm just so proud of her. She always encouraged me. I took her with me to a bank thing one weekend, and I attended the Federal Reserve, and the guy was named Robert Black. He was one of the Federal Reserve governors. He spoke, and I was working in the banking business, and they gave us a little program out, and it showed he was a graduate of Rutgers, a graduate of Stonier School of Banking. She said, "You ought to go there," and never dawned on me to, but I applied, and I told the bank, and they said, "Yeah, we'll pay you to go, and of your furthering your education." So I went to Stonier Graduate School of Banking, and she's one encouraged me to do it, and sometimes even life, that's all we can do is encourage one another. I might not have money to help you on a given day or something like that, but I can say, "Rick, you hang in there. You're bright. I said, "The sun comes up tomorrow." I said, "The main thing is don't give up." And because we learn a lot from when we have to face adversity. And I can tell you a case. I had a little guy in my class, one of my first classes, and he was small. And I'll just say it, he was Afro-American, and he wasn't the brightest one in the class, but he had a wonderful attitude, and he had good speaking skills. And and his name was Hassan. It probably wasn't the most popular name in the world, but he would come and see me at the bank. I was teaching a night course, and I would encourage him. And I said, "Now, Hassan, you'll be U.S. Senator one day. You got a good gift to gab. You just hang in there." Well, I found out he had 2 brothers in prison. He had a daddy had run out. His mother was trying to get her schooling, and so he left her and he went to work up in D.C. for the government, and plus he started a bit. But he always kept up with me, and he'd come in to see his mother in Danville, Virginia, which is several hours from here. And he would get in touch with me and say, "Can I come to see you during Christmas? I visit my mother." Yeah, I'll come in. I'll take you out to lunch. And so he kept up with us, and he started sending money for the scholarship. So one time, I guess it was last year, he came in. I asked him. I said, "Hassan, I noticed you've been sending checks into the school." He said, "Mr. Green," he said, "I sat right there on the front seat and said, you told us we couldn't be a success till we got to where we could help other people." And he said, "That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to pay it back." I asked him about his mother. She'd finished school and was elementary school teacher. I just didn't have the nerve to ask him about his brothers. But so proud of him, knowing where he come from and where he's got to. Because final use of money, and that's the one that's really, really important. I spoke to 5,000 people in Los Angeles a few weeks ago, and that was my talk. And they were enthused beyond belief because I discussed, and I'll probably do a book on it, the 4 uses of money. And there's just not but 4 uses of money. You can, and I've studied finance all my life. You can think till you drop over. There's only 4 uses of money. The person is our provider of basics, which is food, clothing, and shelter. President Eisenhower once said, if all you want out of life is food, clothing, and shelter, just go to prison. They give you all 3 of them. The life should be more than that, because the second use is a rainy day. Old Rick's going to get too old to get up to the microphone. Old Don's going to get too old to do this print and travel someday, so that's we call it rainy day fund. But the third one is a good life. If I want to take Rick out to lunch and pay for him at a good restaurant, I don't want to have to wait till I get a government check. I want to do it today while I'm in New York. I want to do it today. And that we call it leading a good life. And it takes money. But the fourth use of money, which is really, really important one, is we are now in a position, we've got the other 3 taken care of. We're now in a position where we can make a difference in other people's life of our own choosing. You might want to give money to the cancer fund. Somebody else has been affected by their kids, want to give to St. Jude. Somebody may want to give it to Baptist Church, some to Methodist. Somebody want to give it to their high school that's run down. Somebody want to give it where they went to college. You might want to provide for your grandchildren to go to school, or a neighbor's kid, or whatever. But it's of our own choosing, and that's the fourth use of money, and that's all the 4 uses there is of money. You can think and think and think and think. But see, guess what, Rick? Most people are stuck in that first one. They're barely doing it. They're going and getting a payday loan. They're shuffling from one paycheck to another, and they never reach them other stages. And it's just because they haven't done the little things repeatedly over a long period of time. It's not even that most people don't have enough money. It's the way they handle the money and the discipline they have in their life.
That's awesome. You know, Don, I wanna play a little something for you. I wanna get some feedback from you. Let me know what you think about this, Don.
Okay.
Restrictive, you can make them expansive. If you have held yourself back, you can set yourself free. You have the capacity to transmute or change the habits and patterns that have defeated you. Now it's nearly time to join Dr. Hill. But there's one more thing that we must mention before we begin. You will hear reference made to the 9 basic motives. They are also called the alphabet of success. Note these. Remember these. They are the emotions and desires that inspire all voluntary action, that result in all individual achievements. They are the foundation on which this philosophy is built, for they are the basic building blocks of human character. They are vital to your understanding of other people and of yourself, for they are part of us all. They are the emotion of love, the emotion of sex, the desire for material gain, the desire for self-preservation, the desire for freedom of body and mind, the desire for self-expression and recognition, the desire for life after death, the desire for revenge, and the emotion of fear. As you can see, that list truly mirrors human nature, for some of those motives are positive, some negative. Cumulatively, they are...
Hey, Don,
Yeah.
what did you get from that piece right there?
Yeah, that's absolutely great, the 7 basic motives. And, of course, he talked about part of them being negative and part of them being positive. They're actually all positive except for the last 2, desire for revenge and emotion of fear. Both of those get us in trouble. But the rest of all of them are positive emotions. And it's the reason we get up for the day. That's the reason that you and I are talking at 7 o'clock in the morning or so, and a lot of people are still in bed or going for a cup of coffee or whatever. It's what we might say. It's what drives those seven basic motives. What drives us, and the bottom 2, the negative 2, the desire for revenge and emotion of fear, get us in, both of them get us in trouble. But they can, all of them can be controlled. So we want to concentrate our time and effort on those positive emotions rather than the 2 negative emotions, which is fear and the desire for revenge.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. That's pretty powerful. Don, we're almost at the end. Any final words that you want to share about the book, Your Right to Be Rich?
No, the time actually flies. But read the book, and and he said, you changed my life. And it's a good feeling. That's reward enough, because like I'm on my book, I got no money out of it. I put it right in front of it. If this book makes any money, it'll go to the kids, because I did it because I kept being asked, and I put it down in a book. And I got to one of the publishers said, you know so much about finance and all. Said you need to do a book on finance. And I actually that what I just told you came out of it. I worked on it when my wife got sick, and I dropped everything. She became my number one thing. I did not get concentrated in nothing. I gave up my exercise program for that period of time, and I gave up my travel, because I told her, I said, you're number one. Nothing else matters this time. And so I'll as it gets cold weather, I've got some material out, and I'll get back in it. But I would like to be able to people take and read that, and from a financial standpoint, said, if that dumb boy can do that, there's no reason I can't too, because it's not great big things. It's not winning the lottery. It's little bitty things. I sat down with a kid the other day, and I showed him. I said, right here's a little simple plan. You follow this plan right here, and no, you don't want tomorrow, but I assure you, if you'll follow this plan right here and discipline yourself in and do what I'm telling you, it's not taking no wild chances. I said, you can look at that thing one day and say, hey, man, I got $1 million, and it'll happen. It won't happen overnight. That's people that's going to win the lottery. But this will happen by systematic, the line in the good book, it says, if we were to get rich slowly. And what it means to us is, not only am I making money, I'm acquiring wisdom as I do it, as I go along. I'm not going to be somebody got a big fat contract and got millions of dollars, but I have no discipline in my life, and I end up in some god-awful place with broken health or dead, whatever it is. I've acquired wisdom. If someone gives you $1 million, get on your knees and thank somebody. Says, give me the wisdom. I've got the wealth now. Give me the wisdom to handle it. And what we learn as we go along, as Ben Sweetland said, success is a journey and not a destination. It's what we come through, the type of person we become during the process, not what we just grab and get a hold of. It's the person that we mature into over that period of time.
Awesome, Don. Now, Don, I'm a fan of the foundation of Napoleon Hill, a fan of you. Give me some advice on the best way that I could get this message out to more people. I want to share this message with more people, because I believe that if they get these principles, they're going to improve their lives.
Well, Rick,
what's the best way to get that message out to people, Don?
It's pretty inexpensive. Online on www.naphill.org, we do 3 courses, which leads to certification. They'll give you a certificate certified that you're an instructor in Napoleon Hill's philosophy. And right now, I just did a contract with a lady in India as licensed our material. We've licensed our material in Canada. I'm working with a guy that's completed all of ours, and a businessman in Cambodia, and to teach their material. And they learn it by taking just like Hill did. I took this course a long time ago. I think it was $95 or something, but it was by mail. I had to send my money in. They send me a lesson. I'd read the books, and I'd fill out the lesson. I'd send it back, and they'd write back and say, very good, or something other comment on it. I did that, but now we have them online. People can go online and take the courses. And also, my good friend Jeffrey Gittimore. There's a wonderful course on. If you're going, you look at it's advertised in our thing on the. It's a virtual training course. I think it's $195. It goes. Jeffrey Gittimore's an MC. He did the Little Red Book on selling. He's one of the better people out there on Napoleon Hill for years and years and years. He's been so kind to the foundation, giving back. Never asked for nothing. He does my e-zine letter. Matter of fact, he does the technical postings and so forth weekly, and never charged me anything. He's done for years and years. But Jeffrey does the MC on that program, and it's a Think and Grow Rich, a virtual training, and they can go on light speed VT for virtual training and see it. But it's also in our newsletter, and it's on our website. But they take one of the courses and learn the material. It's inexpensive, and just keep studying, because success is something we study. We don't just say, yeah, I got it. I mean, it's like a good book. You didn't pick it up and read it one day. So, well, I read it. I forget that and lay it aside. We study it. We become a student of life, and education is a never-ending process. When these people think they know it all, they're in bad trouble. So we never know it all. There's something new every day.
All right, Don, I want to thank you. I appreciate you being here today. This was amazing. I loved every part of it. And we had all the listeners from all different parts of the world listening to these principles. So I want to thank you, Don, again, and continue success and continue blessings.
Anytime I can help you, Rick, you let me know. I'll be more than glad to just stay in touch and we can help each other.
All right. I'll talk to you soon, Don.
Okay.
Take care.
Love you.
All right. Love you, too. All right, now. Okay, this is Rick Young signing off. Another segment of What's in Your Hand. The next voice you'll hear will be William Torres. All right, guys. I see you Sunday with another powerful show.
Enthusiasm and back it up with a spirit of faith. If you do that, the subconscious mind not only acts more quickly, but it acts more definitely and more positively. And the fourth premise, any dominating desire, plan, or purpose which is backed by that state of mind known as faith is taken over by the subconscious section of the mind and acted upon immediately. That state of mind, ladies and gentlemen, is the only state of mind that will produce immediate action through the subconscious mind. And when I say faith, I don't have reference to wishing or hoping or mildly believing. I don't have reference to any of those things. I have reference to a state of mind wherein whatever it is that you're going to do, you can see it already in a finished act before you even begin it. Now that's pretty positive, isn't it? I can truthfully tell you that not ever in my whole life have I undertaken to do anything that I didn't do it unless I got careless in my desire to do it and backed away from it or changed my mind or my mental attitude. I have never failed to do anything that I made up my mind to do, and I'll tell you that you can put yourself in a frame of mind where you can do whatever you make up your mind to do.